From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Monday, June 13th. There is a heat advisory in place for parts of central Indiana. The spots will easily have heat index values eclipse 100 degrees. Isolated storms are also possible, mainly north late in the day. It's the reason for a slight 205 risk of severe weather. High temps look to reach the low to mid 90s, but again, that heat index is going to likely have it in the triple digits. And it's going to be tough this week to stay cool. It's going to get even hotter in the coming days. The National Weather Service is sharing some common sense advice to dealing with the dangerous heat. Never leave kids or pets in a car or truck. Take breaks in the shade or in air conditioning. Limit strenuous outdoor activities. The CDC reminds you to drink more to stay hydrated and avoid alcohol and drinks with a lot of sugar. Use sunscreen because a sunburn makes it harder for your body to cool itself. Pace yourself outside, especially if you work outside. Start slowly, pick it up gradually, and then stop immediately if it makes your heart pound or leaves you gasping for breath. That includes if you're exercising and working out as well. And police are working to piece together a crime scene in Broad Ripple. Officers responded to a fight, a shooting, and a crash. It all started near the Lava Lounge. At least one person is hurt. Police say there was a fight outside of the lounge and multiple shots were fired. Now they're searching for those responsible. IMPD says it happened just before 2 this morning, the shootout at Guilford and Broad Ripple Avenues. Police say there was a disagreement between a large crowd of people that led to the shooting. Police say the suspects fired shots at each other as they were leaving. Shortly after, police found a man involved in a crash with a possible gunshot wound. Medics took him to the hospital.
We don't know at this point in time if he was trying to get away from the gunfire or was actively involved in the incident. But sustained an injury that potentially could have been as a result of the gunfire or as a result of the accident.
Police haven't said how badly the man was hurt, but police don't think anyone else was injured during the shootout. Police say there were multiple people involved, and they're working to figure out who they are. And today, the House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection will dive deeper into its findings with another hearing. It begins at 10 this morning. Last week's primetime session drew nearly 20 million viewers. The committee says it's uncovered enough evidence for the Justice Department to consider unprecedented criminal charges against former President Trump. Today's hearing is set to feature 2 panels of witnesses and more taped depositions. And the panel will hear from Trump's 2020 campaign manager, Bill Stepien, today. Lawmakers issued a subpoena last fall saying Stepien oversaw the conversion of Trump's presidential campaign to a Stop the Steal effort. Conservative election attorney Ben Ginsburg will also testify as an expert on election fraud. A former political editor at Fox News, former U.S. attorney from Georgia, and a former Philadelphia city commissioner are also expected to testify. And this week, the Supreme Court may reshape America's rules on abortion, religion, and guns. The court calendar shows decisions will come down today and Wednesday. The justices still have 29 opinions to deliver in the next month before the court's summer break. The highest profile ruling could overturn Roe v. Wade, the decision that secured the right to an abortion. A decision is also likely on several religious issues, including post-game prayer in school sports. The court could also make it harder for cities to limit who can carry a gun in public. And the U.S. could soon get its first major gun safety law in years. A bipartisan group of senators agreed on the framework yesterday. Next comes the task of writing the law. The gun safety agreement addresses issues like mental health, school safety, and illegal gun purchases. The key is it's a compromise between Democrats and Republicans. 10 Republican senators say they support it, and that's enough to override a Senate filibuster. They, along with 10 Democrats, revealed the framework of a proposal yesterday and hope a bill could pass. The agreement includes funding to encourage states to pass red flag laws that make it easier to temporarily take guns from people considered potentially violent. It also allows juvenile records to be searched during background checks for buyers under 21. Funding for school security will also be increased. Some people who informally sell guns for profit would be required to obtain federal dealers' licenses, which means they would have to conduct background checks of buyers. Plus, billions of dollars will be spent expanding the number of community mental health centers and mental health programs. It does not include a renewal of the so-called assault weapons ban. The legal age to purchase a firearm is also not being raised. One Democrat says there's still a lot of work to be done.
There are provisions that will be tricky. There's likely to be a provision around straw purchasers and increasing some of the penalties. There's likely to be a provision around the definition of what it means to be engaged in the business of selling firearms that would help somewhat with the gun show loophole, for example. Those will be difficult, and we shouldn't take a victory lap yet.
Republican Senator John Cornyn said on Twitter, "I worked closely with my colleagues to find an agreement to protect our communities from violence while also protecting law-abiding Texans' right to bear arms." Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he'll send the bill to the floor as soon as possible. Some senators are hoping for this to pass before July. President Biden says the deal does not do everything that's needed, but is a step in the right direction. He tweeted yesterday thanking Senator Chris Murphy, adding, "With bipartisan support, there are no excuses for delay. Let's get this done." And gun control advocates are applauding the work on a gun law. Gabby Giffords, the former member of Congress who survived a shooting, tweeted, "While this agreement is not perfect, many details remain to be worked out and more must be done. If carefully drafted and passed into law, this framework would be a life-saving step forward." Her husband, Senator Mark Kelly, is part of the group that negotiated the framework. David Hogg also spoke. He's the school shooting survivor who's become a vocal gun control advocate.
This is substantially more than we've seen in decades from Congress. Is this everything that I want? Definitely not, but it is something.
By the count of the Gun Violence Archive, there have been at least 266 mass shootings so far this year. And the deal came 6 years to the day of the deadly mass shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Family and friends honored the 49 victims with a 49-bell ceremony yesterday. It took place at the First United Methodist Church of Orlando, less than 2 miles away from the nightclub. Former FBI Supervisor Ron Hopper spoke about why this year is as important as any other to remember what happened.
Oftentimes the 6th year is the hardest, believe it or not. And a lot of that is attributed to the fact that at the 5-year anniversary, we kind of make a big deal and we go out of our way to make it really special because 5 years is kind of a landmark or a milestone, if you will. And then unfortunately, people tend to drop off on the 6th year because the 5th year was such a big deal.
The service also included songs by the Orlando Gay Chorus. And today, prosecutors plan to formally charge members of the white supremacist group Patriot Front with conspiracy to riot. Police arrested 31 members of the group Saturday near a pride event in northern Idaho. Police say someone tipped them off after seeing the group get into a U-Haul with shields and masks on. Officers pulled the truck over and say they found at least one smoke grenade and papers with a plan on it. Investigators say those arrested are from at least 11 states. All 31 posted bond ahead of today's hearing. Disgraced high-profile attorney Michael Avenatti says he plans to plead guilty to stealing $5 million from his clients. He's facing multiple counts in California for embezzlement and fraud charges. It comes 2 weeks after he was sentenced to several years in prison for the case that's gotten the most attention. He received 4 years for stealing proceeds from the adult film actress's book. A judge also sentenced him to 2.5 years for trying to extort Nike. Avenatti says he was unable to reach a plea deal with California prosecutors in the latest case. To the war in Ukraine, where President Volodymyr Zelensky says more than 2,600 missiles have hit the country. He made the claim in his nightly address yesterday. Zelensky described one of the attacks as pure terror. Russia is attempting to gain more ground in the Donbas region of Ukraine, which is the industrial heartland of the country. If Russia prevails in taking the region, Ukraine could lose the land and perhaps the bulk of its military force. Ukraine is losing between 100 and 200 soldiers each day, according to a presidential advisor to Zelensky. Carmel is turning to a new artificial intelligence technology to save money on road repairs. The city hired the company StreetScan. For the next week and a half, a van equipped with computers and cameras will take pictures of Carmel's streets. The city plans to use the data to prioritize projects. The city signed a 4-year contract to use the technology for $68,000 a year. A country music star is battling cancer. Singer Toby Keith says he's in treatment for stomach cancer. He posted about it for the first time on social media this weekend, saying he was diagnosed in the fall. Keith says he's been going through surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation over the last 6 months. The post does not go into specifics about concert cancellations, but reads, "I need time to breathe, recover, and relax." The Tony Awards returned to Radio City Music Hall for the first time since the pandemic began. The night produced a number of historic moments. Marianne Elliott made Tony history by becoming the only woman to have won 3 Tonys for directing. Miles Frost took home the award for Best Lead Actor in a Musical for his portrayal of Michael Jackson in the bio-musical MJ. At 22, he's one of the youngest ever to win the award. Jennifer Hudson joined an elite club with the musical A Strange Loop, took home the top honor for Best Musical. Hudson is a producer on the show. The win means she is now one of only 17 people to have earned EGOT status, meaning she has won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. One of the Colts stars will not be at minicamp. Darius Leonard is now recovering from a back procedure he had on Tuesday. He posted a positive outlook on social media saying that clearing up his ailment may help with lingering ankle issues. And in Pacers Watch, the team is finishing up pre-draft workouts ahead of next Thursday's draft in Brooklyn. For the next 2 days, 2 surefire lottery picks will visit President Kevin Pritchard's office. 6'6" wing A.J. Griffin out of Duke will visit today. He posted the 5th best three-point percentage in the program's history. Then tomorrow, the Big Ten's Player of the Year makes his return to Indy. Wisconsin's Johnny Davis is expected to be on the board when the Pacers go on the clock with a 6th pick. The Pacers will then start and end the second round with the 31st and 60th overall picks. Notre Dame is celebrating an upset and heading to the College World Series for the first time in 20 years. The Fighting Irish celebrated wildly after outslugging the top-ranked team in the country in a super regional classic that went the full 3 games. In Sunday's finale, Notre Dame was down 3-1 in the 7th and roared back to beat the Volunteers 7-3. The Irish will play Texas in the College World Series opener. The tournament starts Friday. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.